Welcome back to the refill. I'm your host Seville. We're here with Reggie and Dr. Debauchery, the King Mason himself.
Don't call me that.
Mr. Black Lives Truly Matter.
Call me that.
The president of Juneteenth. My man, my guy, Langston Michael Houston.
Don't call me.
Don't call you what? No,
Dr. Debauchery Michael Houston.
forget all that.
Don't call me that.
What were you saying last night when I said I finally caught up to that Revolt panel? You said something about T.I. dropped the ball or something in your opinion. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, he was doing a lot of like what I call posturing or peacocking. Now, no one takes away from T.I.'s intelligence. You know what I mean? Like, he's an intelligent dude. I mean, but, you know, some of it is, you know, I mean, before, like, people really started to, and I think the internet is to thank for this, before people started paying attention to, like, linguistics and the voices of our time now, there are some voices that are amplified right now because of, you know, social media. You know, T.I. seems a little less, I don't want to say articulate. I would say impacting. He seems a little less impacted. So when he was getting outmaneuvered, first of all, you have to prepare for a Candace Owens, right?
Right.
You have to prepare for her. Trust me, she has talking points, and she has put at least 8 to 10 hours in terms of research and practice into what she's saying, right? Because what conservatives do is, because conservatives are really good at arguing some shit, some practical shit that other people get emotional over, right? So what they do, like, they will argue abortion as to why it's pro-life, or they will argue, let's say, not Roe versus Wade, but affirmative action. Now, they know that that's an emotional, that a lot of people take an emotional stance on that. So what they do is they research to hell the opposing arguments. They are able to poke holes in their own arguments. So when you try to poke holes into them, you don't seem effective, and then you get overtaken by emotion.
I agree.
And that's what I saw.
To a point with the Republicans. I think they have their talking points, but then they don't really give a fuck about other talking points. It's almost like when you arguing with your girl about like whatever, and she's losing, and then she'll shift to something else. Yeah. So you can't win the argument because the target keeps moving.
I like Candace though. I don't
fuck with her.
Why is that?
Because she's disingenuous. Like, I don't believe she believes what she's saying.
She making.
I don't either.
She makes factual points though.
No, she doesn't.
Here's the thing.
She'll sprinkle some facts and like selected statistics into her argument to reinforce it, but a lot of shit she says is just dumb.
I disagree. I mean, I can't speak.
And she's pandering to a certain audience, like the George Floyd thing. She is, as a black woman, right? She was the toughest critic I've heard yet about the whole George Floyd killing in terms of attacking George Floyd.
Wait, bring me up to speed. What did she say? I didn't catch. She
dropped the video, and she was like, "I don't know why we treating George Floyd like a martyr. He was a criminal, and he had X, Y, and Z, and this and that." Okay. And I was just like, "All right, worst case scenario, right? Because my mother's been caught with a counterfeit bill, right? It wasn't like she did it on purpose. She's not walking around with a pen checking bills. She went to the bank. Yeah. The banker knows her. The banker was like, "Oh, this 10 is fake." My mother went back to the gas station where she got it. You know, Haitian women. She went off. He gave her a real bill. It was what it was. But imagine if the bank teller called the cops on my mother and like, you know, she had a knee in her neck or whatever. Like, even if he was guilty, whether it's purposeful or accidental, because people, like the average person, can't tell a real bill from a fake bill. Was that cause for him dying? There are people who have done like 10 times worse things than him who like didn't even get jail time.
Well, let me say this. I got scant information on what's her name, Candace. From what I've seen, I guess really what I seen was the Revolt. To me, she was making a lot. Her and Killer Mike had the best points to me.
Of course,
they had the best argument. So far as that goes, she seems all right to me. She seemed like
as far as that talk,
you gotta watch more, brother.
Okay,
you gotta watch
like I said,
more,
I got scant info on her.
The thing is, I think when she was at Revolt and her being in a black crowd, because I think she's low key a troll, and I think she's doing the shit for attention.
Absolutely.
So now you're a woman who basically went from obscurity to Kanye West giving you a shout out and basically blowing up over time. So you're attention whore, and the people giving you attention and people giving you love are this base that love it when you shit on black people.
That crowd seemed like they were a little just, I don't want to use the word immature, but they just wasn't like,
because you got to hear all the other shit she said, so they weren't here for her. But now the point she made on that panel, me being there, they were all good points. But I guess it was hard for people to take coming from her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But her vibe while she was there was completely different than her vibe when she's in Congress or talking to conservatives because she's surrounded by black people.
Yeah.
So to a degree now, I think
hostile crowd.
Yeah, and not that. I feel like a little bit of the real her started to leak out. You know what I mean? She married a white dude. So I feel like she's a black woman that has issues with herself.
Okay.
Married a black dude. I feel like she low-key wants to be white.
Well, white dude. You said she married a white dude.
Yeah, white dude. My bad. She married a white dude. Yeah. And I low-key feel like she wants to be white, but then you get around black people, and then maybe for a second she was able to let that guard down because, to be honest, I deal and work with a lot of white people and brands and so on and so forth. And to a degree, it's like when I'm doing business, it feels like I'm holding my breath a little bit.
Yeah. Why you feel like that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Nah, why you feel like that?
Absolutely.
Like I'm holding my breath, like almost like I'm not able to relax and let my guard down. It depends on who I'm doing business with. There's some people I fuck with and I could be myself. But there's some places I go where I just feel like I low-key feel like I represent all black people.
Let me ask you, what happens when you do kind of let your head down? No pun intended.
No, then I could chill. There's some people who, like, you know, to be honest, because even if dealing from the black community, I get Candace Owens' points, and like I'm not like going to be like the whole like defender of the whole of black people or whatever, because as far as the George Floyd thing, unfortunately, I don't feel like this is going anywhere. Like I think we got some things over with the protest, but I feel like most of this shit is like symbolic and it's just like fucking platitudes.
Did Juneteenth 10th or 10th come into play because of this whole temperature everything? Like they just decided, let's push this through because we got to give them something. Is that
basically, but it's not what you want. It's basically like when you're like, you did some fuck shit to your girlfriend, she's mad as hell, so you give her flowers and everything. You give her everything but what she asked you for. She's like, nigga, please stop cheating on me. Stop fucking other girls. I'll give you flowers. Here's a present. Let's go out get something to eat. You're doing everything but what she asked you for in the first place. And short term is shit that makes her feel good, but then after all that goes away, she realized like,
let me ask you this, right? Like, why do America feel like, you know what, we fucked up, we brought y'all here, we took you, we stripped you from your country, your homeland. How about we just give you, we give you freedom, but then hit you with Jim Crow later. Then, years, decades later, we give you February. You got all February. And now you got the George Floyd and everything else going on. Well, you got Juneteenth now. You feel me? Like, why can't they just give us, what do you call that? Reparation. Reparation.
Nah, I don't even agree with reparation.
Well, listen, why can't you put more money into, honestly, fuck money. If they could, not money, but if they could put money into like education, schooling us on like how to deal with finances, show us health. You know what I mean? Like really, if you allocate
that's
the money
why I have to, my bad, but that's why I have to give Reggie some pushback in terms of there's not going to be any change because the pendulum has swung all the way to one side, right? Just like in the Me Too movement. When the pendulum evened out and came to the middle after going to the opposite side, when it came to the middle and leveled out, we made a better workplace for women in general. No, it's not bullshit. That's fact. Okay, so, go squeeze your coworker's ass in. But let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. Go ahead. So what I think about the pendulum swinging all the way, this is a lot of smoke going on. There's a lot of mirrors here. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors. There's some parlor trick. But what this has done is mobilize people. You cannot take away the fact that 19 countries, millions and millions of people felt something viscerally in their core and reacted. And I know we were sitting on a powder keg because of Corona. However, that does not take away the fact that millions and millions of people, felt a reaction to this. So I do believe that there's people on the ground that are gonna push through some legislation. Now, it may be small, but it's a move in the right direction.
All right, I agree the move in the right direction, but I would like to compare. First of all, Me Too isn't really an apt comparison because Me Too was like a completely different type of movement, and not to make it a racial thing, but to be honest, you had Me Too that got swept up and sort of it started off. I think the whole Me Too or Time's Up thing started off with like a handful of black women, and the whole thing sort of got gentrified by like white women on a larger scale. So it got national attention. So you got all the Hollywood shit and so on and so forth. But what happens in cases like that is you don't have sweeping change. You have like symbolic change where they sacrifice a few people on the altar of change. You know what I mean? They'll throw you a few people, right? Because you haven't heard shit yet. There was a whole period where every week somebody was like sexual assault, and then everything went away. They threw you a couple of bones to cover up the real issues, and nothing really changed. Like, you still have like sweeping legislation that was like anti-women. If anything, you have less states where abortion and women's rights are available to them. Like, all of this shit.
Most of those states overturned those rulings.
No, they didn't. No, seriously, go look it up. They did it.
I did look it up. I did look it up because I'm a person who used to partake in abortions. So if I have to give somebody some pertinent information,
what you're saying,
I want to be well informed.
But it's most of the states, especially the red states, those changes aren't there. Like, there are certain things that
Alabama had the most egregious law pushed through in terms of mid to late term abortions. And saying that women would get arrested even crossing state lines to get abortions, and that was overturned.
Okay, but they still can't get abortions in Alabama. Like, that was clear
till this day.
Yeah, there's clear overreach. They closed down mad Planned Parenthoods. They defunded mad Planned Parenthoods. Like, women are worse off for it. Now, in terms of the whole Black Lives Matter thing, the apt comparison to me would be the Occupy Wall Street movement and the Tea Party movement, right? Right now, Black Lives Matter to me looks very much like the whole Occupy Wall Street thing, where it's decentralized. You don't really have leaders. There's no clear set agenda because everybody's talking about everything. And what happens when you have that is you can throw people a couple of platitudes, throw people a couple of bones, and they'll feel better because there's no set like list of demands. You know what I mean? There's no leader to kind of point at and be like, all right, this is our representative. He's going to go to Congress to do X, Y, and Z. It's just a bunch of people in the street. Like, it's like this pulsating wound where everybody's feeling hurt. But then when a couple of things go over, a couple of things go over, like, they're talking about everything but what we initially wanted to talk about. So they're changing Uncle Ben's and Audra. Like, no one who gave a fuck about that. Who's really sitting around thinking about Uncle Ben?
And why are all these companies now all of a sudden like jumping on board?
Because it's good business.
Just saying, even Starbucks got some little backflack. Is that the phrase? Backflack? Backlash. Excuse me. About not support. I think they were just against it. And then I went on there to check recently. Now they have Black Lives Matter.
Would you care if it was genuine or not genuine though?
What do you mean? Like, would I still shop there if I felt like it wasn't genuine? I mean, if you're not, I don't know. The whole shit just seemed like, it don't seem genuine to me. It doesn't seem genuine at all.
But does that matter to you?
I don't think so. Because I look at it like you caring don't really change anything. You know what I mean?
Pretty much.
Am I being naive? Am I being short-sighted?
I agree with you.
It just doesn't change much. But so at the end of the day, you feel as though all of this is just a phase, or you feel like it's a season and everything's gonna just
things tipped sort of like when shit went rough, when like, you know, the Mike Brown thing, there was protests all over. There was the whole thing with Flint. But like we
Not
go
like
through these
this, though.
phases. I understand, but we go through phases where shit matters, and I want shit to change. I'm not the person who's like, nah, fuck that, who cares, blah blah. But at the same time, like, bruh, does Flint have clean water now?
But why do y'all think it won't change though? Why can't it change?
No,
Like,
no,
what is it?
no.
It
That's
can, but
Reggie's
we don't
position,
have.
not mine.
No,
Okay.
it can change, but we're not going through the, like, we have to send a representative. We can't, like, we're playing a game that we're not playing the rules to. Right now, what's happening is there's a game being played, and we want to flip the board over. It's not going to fucking happen. You know what I mean?
So you're saying we need a representative?
Exactly. We got to play the game. You know what I mean? The Tea Party wanted change, and they were doing dumb shit. They used to wear the fucking revolutionary hats and carry flags and all this other shit. But they got sweeping change. They got everything they wanted because they got like everyone they wanted in Congress pushed through. Paul Ryan was I believe a Tea Party candidate, and he was like Speaker of the House.
So you mean tactics like actually taking the black dollar out?
Yes.
Why can't we? What is it with us? Why can't we all follow suit? Why can't we all just, instead of putting
There's
up a
no
black
leadership.
square and just like, you know what, I'm not fucking shopping here today, or I'm not going to Target today? Why can't we all comply?
What black
what's the
leader
issue?
are you backing? What black leader is coming up and saying we're going to do this, and everybody's going to get behind them?
So you saying we don't have leaders?
We don't. There's no clear leadership. There's factions.
What position would the leader have? Like, what would be the name of his position?
No, we need
Barack
to put up.
Obama himself couldn't get all black people to do one thing.
That's what I was
he
thinking.
couldn't.
But he could
We're not
get
a monolith.
people
We don't have a centralized thought process.
I didn't say we're a monolith. But when they did the Vote or Die campaign, that was clear leadership. There were people who were campaigning for us to go out and vote for Barack Obama.
That's true.
You had
That's true.
Diddy, you had this, you had that. I'm not saying black people are a monolith, but there was a campaign that unified us in this message that we all decided, yo, we got to go do this.
Okay.
You're a prisoner of today because you're not interjecting the nuances that actually were going on when or you're not factoring the weight of the first brown minority, some will say black, some will say biracial president. You're not factoring the weight, the sheer weight that held on a nation. You dig what I'm saying? A well-spoken, articulate minority.
I get that, but I'm saying
that can't be overlooked.
There was leadership. There were people talking about voting rights. There was education there that wasn't there before. There are people putting money up to run these campaigns.
Well, who are the runner-ups? There has to be some runner-ups. So do you think can fit that criteria?
Okay, I'm just saying, like, if we were gonna pick people, someone like the anti-Candace Owens. Like, I would say like a Tamika Mallory, for example.
Killer Mike?
Yes, I agree with that.
Tamika Mallory, Killer Mike. I
He
don't
would
know
need
what
to change his
happened
name, but I agree with that.
I don't know what happened to fucking D-Ray, that dude who always had the blue bubble vest or whatever. Like, people like that. I don't know what happened to D-Ray. I don't know what's going on politically with anybody right now. I know this guy, Sean King. I don't know what's going on with this dude or what his deal is. But someone who will come forth and be like, yo, I'm running for office in this state and I genuinely want to do X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And not like the run-of-the-mill politician, because I feel like people are tired of that. If you had somebody like what's her name down in Georgia? Stacey, what's her name?
Abrams.
Stacey Abrams. That's a step. Why not?
I do like Candace Lance Bottoms, but I mean, it's me living in Georgia, like Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, that's a step in the right direction. Let's get people of color in office, because at the end of the day, as much as we want to protest, we're outside of the room where the decisions are being made, so it don't fucking matter.
That's a fact. Let me look, not to switch gears on y'all too much, but let me say this off the record, right? You know what really is bothersome to me? Hearing, like, I'm not even gonna say white people, but hearing somebody who is not of the race speaking on it from the disposition, like, I don't really know what's, some people are getting bent out of shape. You can't speak on it. Like, you have no idea what it's like to have your brother, like, that's not, what happened to Floyd? That's not my first time seeing that. Maybe, like, actually seeing, somebody killing them in that way, yeah. But, like, I remember, like, vehemently just be the first time I seen a cop out of nowhere, we on our way to school, just back suplex one of my guys right on his face. I'll never forget, his face just hit the concrete first before anything. I remember just, like thinking like how vulnerable I felt. Like I'm like, damn. If I jump in, then we all fucked up. But I remember just thinking that's like one occasion. So my thing is, if you never had your cousin or your son or you don't qualify to speak on that. You can't hop on a podcast and be like, well, you know what, people are just sensitive, all that. So listen, that caused a trickle effect where it's like, yeah, we are upset about blackface. We're gonna bring that shit back up. We are upset about Jim Crow. We are upset about the lynching. Like it just brings everything because you don't know what it's like generations. So I just want to say that out loud.
100% agree. I 100% agree with that sentiment.
You feel me? Like I'm watching. I'm like, you guys not even erased. I'm like, they're going crazy. It's not like they really just being direct and saying, what are their fucking problems? What are they? So it's just it was just one black guy. They're not saying that, but just the tone. It's just like people are just we're in quarantine right now. It's just you can't speak on it. You can't.
But you would agree we do need allies. You just right now is the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course.
What else is up, fellas?
Shit.
I mean, now this nigga want to shift gears and talk. It's like this nigga want to shift gears and be lighthearted.
He said what he said, so he could sound smart.
Nah, go ahead, go. We can rock out.
Now we want to get lighthearted.
Hey, look, check this out. Remember when I said earlier it was boots on the ground? Guess who had those fucking boots on, nigga? Guess who strapped them motherfuckers up, nigga? I was out there. And Martin Luther King House was saying shit to me.
Yeah, he was out there with the fist.
Oh, he had his fist up.
Yeah, he was out there.
And he did you snap a picture for the gram? You fucking.
Let me ask you a question. Why would you be wearing black Air Forces though?
It was Jordan 4s.
No. You had low cut black Air Forces, no shots.
Let me ask y'all a real question, right? Because this shit was almost like a perfect storm, right?
What's that?
Everything that happened the way it happened. If Corona didn't hit, right? And said like just sidebar has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I feel like we touched on it, but I realized the other day I was thinking about it. If Corona hit a little bit earlier, Kobe Bryant would probably still be alive, and it hurt my heart. I had a moment. Anyways, if it wasn't for the Corona shit, do you think the protests would have blown up the way they did?
No.
Perfect storm. Corona, people stuck in the house. It's getting tired of being stuck in the house. The summer hit. It's nights outside. George Floyd. Perfect storm.
I see your angle. I think that's just the way life plays out sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just opportunity meets chance. That's life. That's the laws of life, or the the beauty of life. I believe.
Yeah. I like that. That was well said, bro.
Yeah. And another point, because we got like a couple minutes. Yeah. When you see like with the protests and everything, then you see random like white people like coming in and breaking shit and setting shit on fire, then looting whatever. It goes to show that when we're not in the rooms where the decisions are being made, certain chess moves and certain things can be moved and manipulated to throw shit off. You know what I mean? There's no clear representative. It's almost like if somebody stepped outside and was just like, yo, what y'all want to eat? And then everybody turned around and said something different. They're like, oh, y'all niggas not serious. Because y'all complaining, y'all hungry. Everybody hungry. What y'all want to eat, though? No one could decide. You know what I mean? But meanwhile, everybody that's in the house already picked what they wanted because they were inside making those decisions. You know what I mean? If you have somebody on the inside, he'd be like, well, you don't even have to go out and ask them. I know they're going to want A, B, C, and D. You know what I mean? Someone's in there speaking for you. Of course, we need allies, but we need people in those rooms making, when those decisions being made, to at least point out like, oh, y'all wilding, like this is not cool.
But why don't we? It's 2020. Why don't we?
Because we don't prioritize that.
Is it because we don't vote? Is it because we don't?
You mean why we don't have people in those rooms, or why we don't have leaders?
Why we don't have people in those rooms to help?
There's systemic racism and all that other shit. But we need to start prioritizing getting people in those rooms. That has to be the next step.
We are such a young race. This is what people I don't realize a lot of times when they speak on black issues and African American people in the United States. We are a young race. Like we only 100 years ago, 100 to 150 years ago, we were completely like free, like emancipated. Then when you talk about Jim Crow, and then you talk about segregation, you talk about redlining, and you do talk about systematic racism. We were held back. We were kept from the starting line, or kept from getting off the starting line. So as a people, we are a very, very young race. You know what I mean? So compared to China. Even the U.S. is 400 years old. China is what? Almost 1 million years old.
Yeah, but Link, what I'm saying is I agree with all those points, but whenever someone says that shit, it's kind of like, so the fuck what? You know what I mean? No one's coming to save you. The universe doesn't owe you shit. Like, you have all these things stacked up against you, agreed, but what are you gonna do about it? Like, after you're done saying, yeah, we're young and all this other shit, cool. Like, is somebody gonna feel bad? Because niggas don't feel bad. They killing black people in the streets. So obviously they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Your kids aren't being educated.
Yeah.
They're not getting this. They're not getting that. They're starving. They're poor. They're living in shitty housing and, like, you know, ridiculous conditions. Like, crime and all that other stuff is basically, you have crime where there's abject poverty, where you have people living. When you have poor people and poor people, you're not going to see crime like this. But when you have poor people living next to rich people, or people living in abject poverty, and they have something to compare it to, they're like, yo, why are they getting all this and we're not getting that? Why are my kids going to this school and going through this shitty, like, these shitty conditions where these kids are getting X, Y, and Z? And then that's what leads to crime. That's what leads to whatever the fuck. So we could talk about that shit all day, but where's it going to get us?
Well, tune in next time on The Refill. Reggie will have it all figured out.
I didn't want to talk about this. Link's the one who fucking brought this up.